Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Unlock over $4,000 in business and travel value annually with statement credits on select purchases from brands like Dell, ChatGPT Business, Hilton, and Adobe, and other benefits. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Based on total potential value of statement credits on select purchases and other benefits, enrollments required, monthly and other limits and terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Your body isn't a problem to fix. It's a system to support. From PMS to pregnancy to menopause. Ollie's Women's Wellness line is built on real science for every stage. No guilt, no stigmas, just science-backed supplements that work with you, not against you. Choose science over shame. Find support at a retailer near you or on ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back.
Yeah.
That screaming in the background is one of our guests who apparently just got out of the zoo and be joining us shortly. But as I was mentioning, this is Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, great network of music-related podcasts, including the official Metallica podcast, the Metallica Report. Check out The Hook Rocks and all the other podcasts on pantheonpodcast.com and all social media at Pantheon Pods on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And you can do the same with The Hook Rocks on all those platforms. Just search up The Hook Rocks and our new website, thehookrocks.com. Set your app to automatic download so you get the latest episode right to your phone. We've had some great guests this past year. Over the last month, we've had Michael Anthony, former bassist of Van Halen, Dave Snake Sabo of Skid Row, Richie Kotzen, John Corabi, some great new bands as well. Like we just featured High Desert Queen, a great desert rock band from Texas, as well as this band Kitsa from Seattle, Washington. And we also covered the latest at Ticketmaster and Live Nation on the Department of Justice lawsuit that was brought against them because of the monopoly that they are, as well as the recent hack, the major hack, a data breach of over 560 million customers. So check out all those episodes and more. And we've got an episode that I'm really excited about today with two return guests talking about one fantastic album that's about to be released. First, we have the legendary guitarist from LA Guns, Tracii Guns, and we have the legend in the making, Mr. Pete Dankelson from Pete's Diary, about to release his new album on June 14th. And
it's getting close.
On Rockin. What's happening, guys?
Doing good.
Hey, man. You know, I played on that record, man.
No, thank you for being a part of it. That was a ton of fun.
That was a really good time. I was sad when I left the session because I was like, man, I want to play on more of this and hang out at that studio.
We definitely, all of us could have just geeked out the whole day. We definitely could have. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, Keep on Rockin' is a culmination of what you've been working on, Pete, for the last couple of years. It's a follow-up to your EP that you released, I think, 2022? Was it? Yeah. And you really show, in my opinion, because I've heard the album, the maturity of the band in both songwriting, in tone, and everything that goes into arranging a song. You had Keith Nelson, the former member of Buck Cherry, produced the record. As Tracii mentioned, he's on the album too, on the song All Hell Breaks Loose. Yep. Fantastic tune.
Very fitting.
I agree 100%. what can you tell us about planning this album, going in the studio to make this record, and then also, working with, Keith Nelson to produce it?
Well, I guess I talked about kind of the whole songwriting process and all that a while back, but I guess kind of the short version, of it is obviously we wanted to do a record, after the EP. It's like we wanted to get away from the covers as fast as possible and get some more originals going. So, and we also wanted, some help with the songwriting as well. So, a good friend of ours hooked us up with Keith Nelson and, did a lot of the songwriting and then eventually, the recordings. And then the whole time, Keith is like putting in the back of my head, he's like, hey, have you thought of this about having a guest come in on the record? And it's like the last week we were out there recording guitars. I'm like, well, I think Tracy's in town, I'll send you, I'll send you a text and see if you'd want to come by. And it was like, yeah, just send a text. And you were like, yep, I'll come by tomorrow. Yeah.
What was it like for you, Tracy, being a part of this?
Well, I mean, to rewind a little bit, the thing that really attracted me to Pete in the first place is because, number one, he's a great guitar player, and that's wonderful. There's lots of great guitar players. But the thing that really makes a great guitar player is their personality, the person that they are, what they're doing, what they're saying. How do you get to know a person through their music, and what does their personality add to the music? And with Pete, number one, if people don't know what he's been through, he's had, born without an ear. He's been through, I believe it's more than 30 operations. He's been through a lot. He's lived, nearly a full life of, confrontation of things that, are beyond his control. Right. So when people have a life experience, it either humbles them or it makes them complete assholes. You know what I mean? They just can be so bitter. And Pete is the first, he's humble. He's a great guy. He's funny, got a great sense of humor about everything. And those are the things that really show in his music, and I believe that his passion for music is really what got him through those roughest young years. You know what I mean? Having something to latch on to. And in his case, that's how he gives back. It's like he shows up with the guitar and he brings it and he makes people happy. And you don't see that a lot. You see, especially in the times we live in now, where people are trying to get attention on social media. They almost come off as like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Where Pete is like, hey, man, I'm totally into this, and I hope it makes you happy. That's the vibe that Pete puts out. So part two is his taste in music is the stuff that you and I love. You know what I mean? That like heavy blues-based rock, bordering on heavy metal. And of course, that's the best shit there is. So, I'm going to like Pete's music. And he's really clever with his riff writing. And, in a time where, breaking, a heavy rock band is harder than ever. I mean, the barricades are everywhere. The major record deals are gone. The mystery of being in a rock band is gone because, every 5 minutes somebody's posting something you did, stuff like that. So, he's got a power trio that kicks ass, that is just ignoring all the bullshit, in front of him, writing music, recording music, playing live, and growing an audience organically. And that's the right way to do it.
You made mention in the interview you just did with Guitar World about the Instagram quote unquote influencers who are playing the guitar on Instagram. And I agree with you. Pete's persona online is much more authentic than a lot of these kids that are sitting on a bed or a chair playing Eruption note for note and all that stuff.
Yes.
And it seems more artificial with them. Like they're learning the exact phrasing without any personality. They don't understand the personality of playing, like you mentioned. Whereas Pete has, like, you got the smile on your face. You've got, how to let a note breathe, for instance, and picking up all that feel in the playing, not just the notes, picking up what the feel means to guitar playing.
Yeah. To me, it was just, wanting to perform the song more than anything else, because it's like, exactly what you said. You see a lot of people online, they're just kind of like sitting down and, they're playing everything right. Sometimes the vibe does come across, but sometimes it's a little bit static. So it's like, what I try and bring to the table a little bit is let's try and perform it like playing it live. Because to me, that's what it's all about. Like, I love like live playing. So like when I try and play like a solo or, like a video or whatever it might be, it's like I want it to come across as almost like a bit of a live kind of situation. Because for me, that's where it's at. Yeah,
it really does. And and I don't think that there's any shame in what these guys do.
Nope.
But that's their business, literally.
Yeah.
I could go into depth and explain how it financially works, but I won't because it's kind of ridiculous, but it's profitable. And like Jay was saying, guy will take somebody else's music and play it identical, get a couple million views, get a couple $1,000. You know what I mean? So, that's one way of approaching it. And I think it's great for those people. That's what they want to do. That's what they want, their perception. That's fine. I'm old. I like Keith Richards, man. I like Start Me Up. You know what I mean? I hear it. I know who it is without having to see him play, the 7 modes on Instagram.
Right.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that was way more profitable for him.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to make it.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. I mean, he's going to be here after the cockroaches. But in Pete's case, it's band development. It's his band members are young, and they're growing. And the more they play together, the better the chemistry gets. But we played together a few times, and his band has played with LA Guns. People love that band. And that's all I care about. That's why we try to do this as much as possible. And, the reality is the same with Jared James Nichols. A few years ago when I first became aware of him and he was still living in LA, we became friends. And I noticed that he was touring with a lot of guys. And so LA Guns, we took him out with us in Europe, and it was the same thing. He's up there smiling, loving it, putting forth his authentic personality and his authentic self. And, at the end of the day, that's what I believe rock and roll is missing, is the authenticity.
Yes. Yeah. From what I've heard and seen, that seems to be what a lot of people have been saying has kind of been missing. But it seems like now a lot of bands like Dirty Honey or, a lot of these newer bands, they're really kind of bringing they're breaking the ice. City back. It's really cool to see and kind of see people, kind of see that, people seem to be coming back into it for kind of, I guess, the right reasons and really for the fun of it more than anything else, which is really cool.
Well, there's two things about rock and roll. Being that it's authentic and it is players kind of exposing their emotions in a group setting.
Yeah.
Two things. People love a great show, and there's so much danger involved in that subconsciously, because when's the band going to fall apart, doing this live?
That's half fun, though,
It is. Everybody wants to see a train wreck, right?
Yeah.
So, a band like Dirty Honey is a great example of that. In a lot of ways, Foo Fighters is a great example of that.
Yeah.
But then the scariest man alive right now is Wolf Van Halen. I mean, my God, is he just dripping with personality and talent?
Yes.
Every time I don't have his records. So when his songs come on the radio, I'm always like, who the fuck is this? And it's always Wolf right now. It's like, oh my God, you know, but, you know, the more of that, the better. And the really cool thing and why I believe it's great that, bands like Pete's Diary and LA Guns stick together, for example, is because it creates a vibe. It creates a scene. It brings people together. Right. And that's what rock and roll has always been about. And if you're, you know, kind of into rock and roll trivia and you go back to kind of pre-Elvis, going up to Elvis, you know, those first shows, you know, there'd be, you know, 20 bands at a little festival in a cornfield, and each band would play like 2 or 3 songs. But it brought all those rock and rollers together and created the scene, and there was nothing artificial about it. You know what I mean? So that's why we ended up here today, and why I played on his record is I want to be part of something that I believe is in the tradition of what I do. And you know, Pete is definitely within the tradition of what I love and what I've tried to put across in my career.
Yeah, you know, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's all I needed to say.
Yeah,
it's a ton of fun. It
is. I mean, it's just like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, jamming, and I don't know. It's just all about playing and just having fun.
Well, it's also about the art, right? I mean, and when I say about the art of guitar playing, it's not about how many notes you can play. It's about the feel. It's about chasing tone. It's about, you know, making your sound your own. And, you know, in the day and age of technology where people are using modulators and people are using all these things, it's nice to see a young guitar player like yourself plugging in and playing. I appreciate that a lot, very much, because there's nothing like being in the audience and hearing that A chord just come out and just having it hit you right in the chest. You know? To me, that's such a powerful thing.
It is. It's simple, you know. And you know, Pete makes me feel guilty because when I watch Pete or Jared or even, you know, Grace Bowers, you know, they're so good at playing with a guitar cable between the guitar and the amp. And I look at my shit live and I got spaceships flying out of my speakers. You know what I mean? It's like, so, you know, particularly Pete, though, has taken me back, and even Sam Bam, who lives across the street from me, we went out and bought the same amps that Pete plays live because we recognize how fucking authentic that sounds and how great it is, you know? So Pete, you're a big inspiration to a lot of guys.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that the thing with the amps, that was cracking me up. It's like, I mean, just, what was it? We were like, you know, when we set up the amp at sound check, and we were like comparing them, and it was like this 20 watt, you know, plexi is as loud as this, you know, full. I mean, I didn't realize it was that loud.
Yeah. Mind blowing. And you know, so many people, you know, really strict traditionalists, you know, it's like Les Paul, Marshall, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that first sound check where, you know, for some reason I thought you were always using an Origin, and then I saw it. I was like, oh, because I have an Origin and it sounds great too. But the fact that it was 20 watts, and you know, you had the SG one night, and then you had the Les Paul the next time.
Yep.
And both times I was just like, why do I have all this shit? You know what I mean? When the point comes across through the humbucking pickup and the Marshall, you know, and so, you know, if people keep a blind eye, they never go back, you know, and they never get into the roots. And I think that, you know, you're going to find too, like I did growing up as a really young guitarist, the older I get, the further I dig back into rock and roll history.
I've already been doing that, and that's been a lot of fun. Like I've been listening to I mean, it's all part of that journey, which is so much fun. It's like I fell in love with, you know, the guitar because of AC/DC and, you know, Zeppelin and all of this. And then you keep going back and you hear like the Beatles and Stones and all the stuff from the 60s. And then you go back and hear like Freddie King and Chuck Berry or Little Richard. And it's just, you keep going back, and then eventually you get to like, you know, the old blues guys from, like Robert Johnson, Sunhouse, Charlie Patton. So, I mean, I've totally just really enjoyed that journey and taken off that in. Yeah.
It never ends.
No, it's awesome. Ends. Yeah.
The one thing that is great about Pete's guitar playing too is that, since we're blues based, my thing has always been don't play blues, right? Like straight up, 1-4-5, music, because that's what everybody does. You know what I mean? And nothing dries up a vagina like, 1-4-5 guy in a hat with a tweed coat on with the perfect Strat or Telly and a Fender amp. Cool. Awesome. Do it. But nothing says sex and rock and roll like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and John Bonham and John Paul Jones, man. Yeah. Aerosmith, Yardbirds, Beatles, Stones. They took the blues and completely destroyed and put it back together. Yeah. Even Van Halen, And so like for me, that's why blues is so important, because we can't have the good stuff without the blues, and like when you talk about Sunhouse and stuff like that, it's so dirty.
It is. Yeah.
It's so filthy. And that's why, really going back, you discover those little things, right? Those little like, whoa, that, okay. Right on with that. And, Yardbirds is a great example because they were in a funny situation. They had some pop hits, but they're also very experimental and to be honest, pretty crappy at crafting these kind of heavier blues songs, but so experimental that it's so important to listen to, because you can, this day and age, we can now see what they were trying to do. And the Sonics is another band like that. Just like really great half the time, total disaster in experimenting, but kind of half the way there, 3/4 of the way there. And which just gives us the tools to be more creative with the blues feel, the sexiness that does lie somewhere within the blues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pete, did you ever check out Sam's Boogie by Magic Sam?
Yeah, that performance is incredible. I mean, it's crazy with just the finger picking and all of that. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching a guy who teaches guitar on YouTube about that song, and he said it was the hardest song he ever had to learn. And this is
I tried to learn it. I tried to learn it a while ago, and I couldn't figure out the rhythm. I tried to play it slow and keep it going. I'm like, this is bizarre. I'm like, I'll come back to it later, and it's been a couple of years now, and I still haven't gone back to it.
But see, there's a great example of what we were talking about a few minutes ago, that authenticity of the player.
Yeah.
It's nothing for him.
Yeah.
Right?
That's one of the things that made me mad. It's like, for him, he's
got a smile on his face.
I'm just like, oh my God. But it's incredible. And I mean, just the tone as well, but the performance. And I mean, just as a guitar player, you're listening to the picking pattern, you're going, that is bizarre, but I'm like the coolest possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Same with Glenn Campbell, man. Like, don't ever try to learn something Glenn, when Glenn Campbell laid it down, forget about it, man. Nobody can play like that. Yeah. And the other guy that I'm just absolutely in love with, and I'll never be able to play like him, is Tommy Emmanuel.
Because
he takes mind blowing. That's just absolutely cuckoo.
I can't even wrap my head around it. Yeah, you see him play, like what?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just like that recklessness that you talked about, where it could all fall apart. When Tracy and I have talked about Zeppelin bootlegs, and there's this live 77 at the LA Forum where they open up with Song Remains the Same.
Yeah.
And then I know we're talking about guitar, but you hear Bonham on the drums, and Bonham just goes so far out to the edge on that. And like you as a listener, you're like, how is he going to come back?
Yeah.
In time and where he's supposed to be, and he finds a way to do it, and your mouth just drops. Like, what did I do here?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and let's not leave out the Jimi Hendrix experience, man. I mean, whoa, what the hell was going on there, man?
I know.
Yes, more of that, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the song, the album is out. Tracii, what was it like for you to be asked to play on this album?
Oh, I was absolutely just like, I do so many fucking sessions that I just do for the bucks, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, when Pete called, I was like, where, when, and how much do I got to give you? You know what I mean? To be part of something that I believe in is the ultimate honor, right? I mean, it's what I do for a living, but I also happen to love what I do. And if I could bring what I love to a session or to a project, that's where it's at for me. You know what I mean? It's like I get to hang out with some friends. I get to reconnect with Keith. I get to throw down a Harry solo. I even brought an amplifier with me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to do something special, and just walking in the room and seeing the smiling faces, and we all knew what I was there for, and I knew what I was there for, and it was, like Pete likes to say, it was fun, and hearing whatever the fuck came out of my arms, through the speakers was just like, whoa, And,
no, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so,
Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
At Ollie, we've got wellness down to a science. From PMS to pregnancy to menopause, our women's wellness line offers science-backed support for every stage. No judgment, no shame, none of the stigma. Just supplements designed to meet you wherever you're at. Ollie, choose science over shame. Find support at a retailer near you or on ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
A little ignition of fire and spark. And like we were saying earlier, when I left, it was like, damn it, it's over. You know what I mean?
Well, I think one of the things that cracked me up, I remember when you walked in, I forget exactly how you said, but you're like, I haven't been in a studio in forever. Cause I think, nowadays it's all like file sharing and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was really, really a great experience, just to walk into a studio, number one, that I've never been to.
Yeah.
And to see how much care was put into the building of that studio.
It's incredible. It's a really cool place.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And it's a home studio, technically, but it's one of the nicest, professionally put together studios I've ever been in. It had the vibe, really had the vibe. Now when people ask me, like they'll book out, there's a few studios left here, really nice, expensive ones. And if I'm not excited, I'm like, no, we don't have to go through all that. Just send me the track and I'll play on it. So like everything kind of has to be right. When I was younger, I did an interview with Robbie Robertson at Capitol Studios. And the greatest thing about that meeting, I mean, it was great being with Robbie Robertson and doing the interview in the big studio in the control room. But I met the security guard, And the security guard told me, hey, man, this place closes at midnight, but I'm here till 6 a.m. If you ever need to get in here to record something, let me know. And I got to go in there after hours a few times. And that had nothing to do with LA Guns. This was me trying to create other projects with friends and doing stuff like that. So,
yeah,
I've been doing, studio work since I was 17. So, years before that first meeting there. And, I've had good times in studios, and I've also had really stagnant times in studios, especially working for somebody else where, they can't really, they think they hear what they want, but they can't really project it. And then I'll sit there, for a couple hours trying to give them what they want. Yeah. And then at the end of it, I'm like, hey, listen, let me do what I want, and ultimately that's the most authentic thing. Right. Right. So the whole studio culture in Los Angeles was such a big deal, from the late 40s to like 1994. That experience was why people came here to make records. That's why the music business was here. Mm-hmm. And, just look at the Wrecking Crew documentary. It kind of lays out a lot what's going on, Beach Boys, stuff like that. This is a culture of studio rats, people going in and out and in and out and in and out and recording. So by 94, I think that's the last time I was making records, spending $1,100 a day. You know what I mean? Going to studios. And then I kind of just wasn't interested in the music business in that way anymore because the studios were closing. And we were making independent records. And so by the time LA Guns reunited, I had built a studio and I had done 2 solo albums on my own. Mm-hmm. So through all that experience, I'm able to engineer, record, and producing is a vague word. Producing is vague. It means a lot of things. But leaving my studio here and going to a studio to join up with a friend, that's better than going to someone's birthday party with strippers, Yeah.
Doesn't it depend on what the strippers look like?
Not anymore.
Was there a decision on the song that you were going to play on, or was this pretty much everyone knew that this was the right one to do?
Let's see. Yeah, it was kind of like which one. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, cool. You're coming by. It's like which one should we do? And I'm like, I heard you on. It's just like I could hear you jamming over that solo, and I'm just like, let's do that one. So yeah, well, so it's just like whatever came to mind.
They threw a wrench in it in part of the solo, so it's got a pretty straight ahead rock and roll feel. Then all of a sudden they go to this half step change that kind of that only modulates a half step, and I was like, thank God I knew exactly what to do. But it was like, whoa, we're getting progressive for like 8 seconds. What I mean? It's like this bit. And so I actually, it wasn't just a, blow it out of the what's the word I'm looking for? Improvising zone. I had to actually think, and I had to do a change and a thing, which really brought it to the next level for me as a musician. Like, okay, there's 3 things I can do here, but I don't want to do anything that anybody else has done before over a change like this. Let's give it a go. And we got it pretty quick, I think.
Yeah.
We did it.
What's it like for you, Pete, to be on the verge of this being released? All the work that went into it. And you've been promoting this now for a little bit over a month. Mm-hmm. And here it is. It's coming out. And this is basically the end of the pre-journey of the real journey, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Now the album's going to come out. Now there's a whole different journey. But what's it like for you emotionally as an artist to finally see this in the hands of your fans?
Well, it's funny. I was talking with a buddy about this the other day. He's like, you've been working on this for a while, it's coming out, next week. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're ready for the songs to come out. And I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, that's pretty much, it's like pretty much where I'm at. I'm like, I'm just ready for the songs to be out. It's like, we've been sitting on them. We've been playing them live for so long. It's like, I'm ready for people to hear them, now. So it's definitely the excitement of, it coming out and being out there for everybody to hear. But it's also like, all right, finally, this is ready to go because it's been in the works for so long. So it's kind of funny that that's where my mind is at. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm very excited to hear what everybody thinks of it and, what favorites people have or, just general reactions. I'm really looking forward to all of it.
When did it become for you? Obviously, you've got the social media presence, do what you do on social media, and you've got a huge following on that. But when did it become, I want to make music, my own music, and put out an album? Was that always part of the original goal or vision that you had, or that develop over time?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of from the get-go. Or, I mean, when this whole thing kind of started, I'm like, yeah, let's, do some, do original stuff. But for me, really, I'm like, I want to play live. Like, for me, that's what all of this is kind of a vehicle for. It's like building up a set list and, performing these songs and really wanting to, put on a good show and just have a good time. Like, love, like, like being in the studio and writing songs and doing all that. It's a lot of fun. But for me, that's like the vehicle to getting on stage and, bringing it to life for everybody. So yeah, for me, it's definitely kind of all about the live aspect because I just get such a huge thrill out of that. It's just so much fun. It's just the adrenaline rush because I'm usually like kind of like quiet and reserved. It's like being on stage. That's where you really just kind of get to, let loose and just have a ball. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What was that like going from kind of behind the camera, so to speak, the influencer mode to actually being on stage and playing and then, growing and now opening up for LA Guns, opening up for other artists too as well. What's that journey been like for you?
Well, it's just really, really, it's just you're getting better at it each time you go. Each show, you get tighter together as a band. You're building up that chemistry of playing together. And, you find, I don't know, there's definitely a lot of fun with like improvising solos on the spot, that kind of spontaneous, go for it kind of thing. And kind of really, it's really interesting with that because like for the last song on the record, Metals and Cigarettes, when we play it live, it's going to be, it's like this big, long, epic kind of guitar solo ballad I'll do. And it's just kind of like, that's where you really kind of get to let, some of the emotions out. And, it's one thing to play it here at home, but it's like, it's a totally different thing to really kind of wear your heart on your sleeve and play it in front of people. And you hope that, they get the same vibe that you hope you're trying to get across. So it's really, I don't know, I guess it's always kind of a work in progress. You really hope that, what the emotion you're trying to get out there comes across in that way.
I like that song because it kind of has that Gary Moore vibe to it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, he's one of my all-time favorite guitar players. So when we kind of had that come across, I'm like, I get to have my Gary Moore moment. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Like
we got Gary Moore moment, right?
Yeah. I'm like, now we got to figure out a spot in the song where I could just hold a note for 30 seconds and just let it ring. I'm like, oh, let's do that. I'm like, that'd be so much fun.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's interesting you say that because one of my favorite things done on a guitar of all time is Hendrix up north here in California on like New Year's Eve. One of the shows he did.
Yeah.
He holds that one note in Machine Gun.
Yes, Machine. Yep.
With the univibe going, and it's just like, wow, man, that's all you got to do. You just got to play that note and hold it. Well, unfortunately, no. You got to be Hendrix. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's like every demon, shooting through his body into the guitar, through the univibe, through the amp. And it's at least 30 seconds, right? I mean, it just...
he holds it for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's magic, you know.
It is. Yeah.
That's really the proof in the pudding is, you know, learn your scales, learn your theory, do all that stuff because it's just they're all tools and they're great.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got that in your pocket, you know, you're already ahead of the game. And Pete has that in his pocket, and everybody that sees him recognizes that.
Yeah, well, you got to find the right spot on the stage for that feedback tour,
right?
Much of anything.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, when I look at Pete playing, and as we're just talking about that, right, is authenticity, all that kind of stuff. But what you embody, Pete, in my opinion, is when you look at the guitar players that the greats that we all know from the 70s, 80s into the 90s, and a lot since then, they all have something in common, and they all have pride in being good and working at their craft. Because they understand, you know, in Tracii's generation, for instance, right? I mean, you had Eddie that kind of spawned that whole generation of those type of guitar players, but you had Tracii and you had George Lynch and you had all these guys in the scene that were all, I don't want to say like competitive in a bad way, but they all knew that they had to be good. And
that's right.
You know, and that's the thing. Chasing tone, you know, developing their feel, developing their playing, and knowing when to play and knowing when to back off, the subtlety. And your playing reminds me of that. Is that those days in the age of, you know, think back when they used to record music, when Tracii used to record music back in the day, it was on analog. So when they were doing another take, they had to rewind that tape. And in that time when they're waiting for that, they're noodling and they're practicing and they're getting better at the guitar playing. And I think now, a lot of young players, in my mind, this is just my opinion, think that they can rely more on technology to compensate for how they want to sound like instead of just doing it and being authentic with the playing.
Right. Well, that was one of the fun things about, you know, working with Keith. It's like he totally comes from that, you know, the same kind of like influences and all of that. So he totally knew like the vibe of what we were trying to capture and all of that. So, I mean, you know, working with Keith, it was like, he knew exactly like the vibe what to capture and what we were looking for. So, I mean, that was really cool that, you know, we had him to help us along with this and just kind of like, you know, he's, you know, like when doing the guitar parts, he suggests stuff that maybe I hadn't like really just thought about. Or, you know, like, hey, check out what happens here. You know, it complements this part, you know, or you know, stuff like that. So yeah, that was, yeah. So it wasn't like, you know, like analog recording. It was like a Pro Tools session and kind of, I guess, multi-track, but it still feels very organic. Like it still feels very together. At some point, I really want to get the guys together and do like a couple rockers where it's just like off the floor, like something like that. I'm like, that'd be so much fun. I'm like, I'd love to do something like that just for like the dangerous element of it. And just, yeah, there we go. Like, I really want to do something like that at some point. I don't know if the other guys, cause they're kind of like, you know, they're very like meticulous about, you know, their parts. You know, you want to do a good job and stuff, but I'm like, I really like, I love what we do live. I'm like, I'd love to try and totally just capture that in some type of recording at some point down the road, whatever that might be. I'm like, I'd love to do that at some point.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, some things that come to mind about that is like all the early Chicago albums with all those arrangements changes, horns. Yeah. They recorded that shit live, man.
Yeah.
You know, and there's actual video of them doing it, you know, and I was talking to Flea a couple months ago and I sent him some of the new LA Guns tracks. Yeah. And, you know, first thing he said, he goes, damn, you know, that's fucking rocking. He goes, are you guys recording that all together? And I was like, no. It was almost embarrassing to tell somebody I grew up with. Yeah, I know it sounds great, but it's totally fake, man. You know, I know how to do it. I know how to fake you out. But yeah, I mean, you know, and of course Van Halen, you know, and not so much Zeppelin. I mean, Zeppelin tracked live, but you know, Jimmy Page and Andy Johns and Eddie Kramer, they're wizards in the studio, so I'm glad that I had that education so I can at least do tricks and I know things to make things sound not polished and not perfect, because that's the last thing I'm going for. It always cracks me up, when I read, reviews of, LA Guns albums and Dirty Honey and stuff, the stuff newer that's coming out, where people do things old school. They go, the production's just really weird. It's like, no, it isn't. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. And but music is subjective. All art is subjective. And everybody has an opinion and all those things. And it's one thing to believe in yourself as an artist and as a band, and of course we do, but we're always insecure, right? Like we're always oh, shit, there's so many variables, there's so many ways you can do things, and but you have to believe in yourself enough that you like it when you hear it come back through the speakers. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You've heard the album, Tracii. What are your thoughts on the whole body of work?
Well, the whole body of work is really complete in my mind because it's an album. It's not a bunch of songs dropped in a running order. It's like, hey, that song is this band. That song is still this band. That song is this band. And the one thing that's really nice and consistent, and Keith and I talked about this when I was there, was the use of specific amplifiers in the left speaker, the right speaker. Different things happening in the middle, and the important thing was really developing the vocals and the songs, right? So that's where there's a lot of success on the album, is having, a young vocalist rising to the occasion, not getting frustrated by, Keith's very old school wealth of knowledge and the encyclopedia of rock, and coming through, getting it done, and making it shiny and making those choruses pop. And, I think the mix is great. It's the greatest starting point I've ever heard. It's quite a jumping off point. You gotta better that next time. And that's going to give the inspiration to do it, because it's already great. So, and then of course I come in and I ruin one of the songs. But I'm very proud to say that, hey, I'm on that record,
Yeah. No, thank you so much for being on, and I'm so glad you were able to hop on.
Oh yeah.
Doing Rip and Tear live. I know when Pete started puts up for LA Guns, the song that you guys do together is Rip and Tear.
Right.
For you, Pete, what was that like playing? One of the most, I think Matt Wake was the one that said this in one of the shows we did. We were talking about LA Guns. He's like, Rip and Tear has the ability to appeal to those rock fans, and then those fans that came after in the grunge era, because even those grunge fans say Rip and Tear fucking rocks.
Yeah.
So what was that like? What's that like for you, getting on and playing one of those great songs from that period of music?
Well, so the first time I jammed it with you guys was at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
It was when Mac and I were out here for the first songwriting sessions, and it just, perfectly lined up that was the release of the Black Diamonds record. So it was like, I forget exactly how it came about, but it's like, oh, well, we're in town, we'll try and stop by. And you're like, well, come and jam. So in the hotel room, learning the songs after the songwriting sessions, and then to jam it. And I think it was sold out too. So that was and it was, that was fun too, because Sam Bam was there, and a couple other friends were there, and it was great. It was great to just it was just, not only to jam with you guys was such a blast, but to be on stage at the Whiskey and just like, you're looking out and you're just like, this is what Hendrix's He was. This is what, what all of these guys is, this is what Van Halen's He was. You're just like, you kind of take that in for a second, just go, wow, that's pretty cool. So just kind of that I don't know. You don't let it overwhelm you, but it's just kind of like before we kicked off the song, just like it's pretty damn cool.
It's heavy. Rudy Sarzo once told me that every time you walk into a room, that you're going to play in that night, it's a combination of the DNA that's already been there, and the whiskey, Jesus Christ, right? When we play which we're the house band on New Year's now for like 8 years going.
Yeah.
Every time I walk in there, I don't take it for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I have these pictures that I've seen, my whole life of these different guys playing there, and it's a mind blower. But the thing with Rip and Tear is anybody that gets up with us, that's the song they play. And the idea is you got to learn the solo. Right, because we're going to play it together, and then the end of the song is the cutting heads. With who's the character in Crossroads? Jack Butler. That's the cutting heads with Jack Butler part. That makes it really fun. So you have to learn one part of it, and then you get to be whatever you want on that outro solo.
Right.
And the first time you played, it was you and Ranga Ringrose, Sam, Ace, and me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that was a pinnacle of my musical experience, because it's like, wow, we have every generation up here, up to LA Guns playing the song and playing solos. And when we all went into the main solo together, it was a symphony. It was like, wow.
It was just this huge. That was killer. Just
so rad. And we've done it with some heavies. We did it with. I think the first person to really do it right was Gretchen Menn and Daniele, her husband. Now they came up and we all did it like up in Northern California, and they're virtuosos. Those two are just. My God, they're out of this world guitar players, and then obviously I think Jared did it every night in Europe.
Oh, nice! That's awesome.
And then you Ranga, So I mean, it's a select few people, but those are the jams that I remember. Those are the ones that we really push things, and everybody's smiling, and the audience has more energy because they're. What is going on up there? Is this going to be great, or is it going to be a train wreck?
Right. And snowballing.
But with guys like you, people leave and they're like, "Did you see that, man? That was fucking badass." That's all I care about.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun. Yeah, because I mean, there is that danger. With that, it's just snowballing. It's going so crazy.
Yeah.
There's that danger of a possible train wreck, or I guess really at that point you're just waiting for just that final, that final part. You're just like, okay, where's it going? You wait for the snow, and you're like, okay, here we go. Yeah.
Well, and the one thing, Jay, that's really kind of just a mind fuck when you're learning the song and you have to jam to the end. It doesn't end on the root of the song. It ends on the E, which is the 4. And
that screwed me up last time. I was watching the video, and I'm just like.
Oh, did it?
It did. I was laughing. Like,
I know. It's a mind fuck. But the reason why we hang it on that key at the end is so we can end. That's the last song in the set, and we have to end on the root, So, but we do that big tension chord before we go into the whole big ending. And when you're, it should go back to A there, and it doesn't. And it took me, 4 or 5 shows to figure it out when I decided we were going to ruin it like that.
Did you ever think that song was going to be used as a generational gap of guitar players that it's become now?
Well, I mean, I just hoped when I started making albums or recordings, hope one person hears this and wants to pick up a guitar, right? Like that's always been my goal. But I've never taken for granted in any way that the music would do anything for anybody other than, we go out there and have fun and people like it. But the funny thing about Rip and Tear is I think Mick Cripps lived across the street from me, the other guitarist in LA Guns. And we were getting ready to go out on the Def Leppard tour. We were still touring for our first album. And he's like, you know what we're missing? And I'm like, what? He goes, we really need a song like When the Whip Comes Down by the Rolling Stones, you know? And he had kind of the riff. And he goes, and he was going off to do something that day. It was like 8:30 in the morning. My girlfriend at the time had just gone to work, and he's knocking on the door already, right? And I just messed around with the chords he had, which were just A and D, basically. And I said, well, the thing about When the Whip Comes Down is it never changes. You know, the chords stay the same, but they're implied from section to section to do something different dynamically. And it's weird because that's out of all the LA Gun songs, that's the only one I remember someone coming to me and saying, we have to do this, you know, and we did it. And I think when he got back from what I was doing, I had like this whole kind of arrangement with a little Pretenders part, you know, after the solo and everything. And he came in and he said it. He goes, rip and tear. You know, I'm like, well, there it is. And we played it on that tour before we recorded it. We played it on the end of our first tour on the Def Leppard tour in the round, you know, in front of like 30 to 60,000 people every night. We were playing a new song and it got amazing response. And it was great because Def Leppard on that tour, they set up their stage the day before the shows. So they were in their sound check the day before us. So when we got into town, we had full sound check time. We wrote half of Cocked and Loaded on that tour, you know, or finished up, you know, tightening things together on a round stage in arenas. So when you have that much power, you know, while you're finishing up writing, you can tell what's going to come across. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Boom. You know, so Rip and Tear was a special song from, you know, the first day Mick Cripps suggested that we needed it. You know, and so for it to have this kind of longevity where someone like you's playing it, you know, with the band and people are really going crazy when we do it. Yeah. You know, that's success. You know, that's truly musical success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome.
As we close here, I know, Tracii, you got to run, but what's next for each of you? I know, obviously, Pete, you have a new album, Keep On Rockin', coming out on June 14th. What after that? What's next? And then I know Tracii just signed with LA Guns, just signed with Cleopatra Records. So what's new? What's next for the both of you?
Well, for me, I mean, we're doing the New York shows next week, so that's going to be an experience. It's kind of like doing like a mini, I guess you could call it like a mini tour. You know, travel.
It is, yeah.
It's really for the first time. So yeah, we're playing the Triad Theater in New York on the 14th when the album drops, and the 15th. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then we'll be playing more or less around the Chicago area, you know, all summer and I guess beyond. But yeah, we definitely hope to do more shows. But yeah, we'll be busy all summer playing and all of that. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Bravo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for you, Tracii, any news on the horizon with you?
I mean, yeah, we hit the road on July 25th through the end of the year, basically. Our new record will be done and turned in by October 15th. It's slated to come out next March. And working with some other people that might end up being a power trio kind of a thing, so I can get out there and play live more because we have new management that we've had for a couple of years, and they've really taken the band to another level. And so we don't play as much as we used to. Which drives me nuts because I want to play guitar all the time live. So I'm kind of working on stuff like that. But right now, man, I got like 2.5 weeks to do nothing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, awesome. Guys, thank you both very much for doing this. Pete, congrats on the new album. Looking forward to its success and good luck with it. And Tracii, thank you for the time.
Absolutely. I'll talk to both of you later, and I love you both.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Everyone, that is Tracii Guns. That is Pete Dankelson. Pete's Diaries links will all be in the show notes. So check out where you can get that album. Once again, I'm Jay Scott. This has been another episode of The Hook Rocks. Take care of each other. Stay safe. And we will talk soon. Thank you.
my money, spending all my time. Should've known you were bad news from the start. Left me holding the pieces of my broken heart. Every time I'm burned, I swear I'm gonna learn. Where there's smoke, there's fire, but I'm addicted to the flame. And I sound like a liar every time I say your name. Picture perfect beauty queen, drowning me in gasoline. I guess I'm never gonna learn. Where there's smoke, there's fire. How could I, baby, be so blind? You'd always blame me every time. Should've known you were bad news from the start.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, 0 tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.